Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another beautiful evening with us on Live with Lloyd. I'm your host, Astro-Numerologist Lloyd Strayhorn. As you see on the screen is the monthly calendar for May. The same time next week, it'll be in the month of June because I've been having a couple of issues with my computer that I don't quite understand. Instead of having the image of my guest, Ms. Shaune West, that you'll be meeting in just a moment, I decided to put this in its place. Okay. So everybody, I do want to thank you very much for joining us on this last Wednesday in the month of May of 2025. By the way, this is a palindrome week. In other words, if you put the month this way and then read it back that way, it reads the same. It'll be that way up until tomorrow, the 29th, and then that's it. Anyway, before I get started, let me let you know that the sponsors are being brought to you by U-Juice. It's a beautiful Caribbean drink. It is great tasting. You can get it by going to Levitt Store, LIVETSTORE.com and order. Also, Nicholas Brooklyn, actually, they're at 1396 Fulton Street. Nicholas Brooklyn is an amazing store. You have to go there to see it, to believe it for yourself. I mean, it got anything that you could imagine. It's the best. So please go there because they're celebrating now over 50 years of being in business. Also, thirdly, Manifest on Purpose with Miss Kimberly, who is also offering, in addition, a business consultant. So for those of you who are thinking about a business, actually starting a business or want to get it started, she offers a complimentary screening where all you got to do is just go to Kimberly, KIMBALEY.com, and for a consultation, she'll tell you about your business from more of a astro-numerical point of view. Also, Queen Bee, one of my sponsors of Numerologists and Numbers Matter, because I'm having some issues with my computer. She's having a show this coming Friday the 30th, and it's gonna I wish I could show you, but anyway, just tune in and see it. She's good at what she does, and it's Numbers Matter. She's always very conscious of the community. Before I begin and bring on my distinguished guests, I want to let you know that today is Wednesday, the 28th, 2025. The sun is in Gemini, the moon is in Cancer. It's a 5 universal month, 9 universal week, 6 universal day. So for those who happen to be Taurus or Libra, and my guest is a Libra, interestingly enough, all born on the 6th, the 15th, or the 24th, well, this is your day, okay? So anyway, I do want to, let me get this off the screen, and I do want to bring on my guest, Shaune West. Oh, let me see. Let me take the mic off. Okay, you're going to have to unmute yourself. I see the mic on. Let me see. Can I do it? You're going to have to mute yourself. Yes, now I hear you. Shaune, how you doing, lady?
I'm doing good. How are you, Lloyd?
Fine, thank you. You know, it's interesting. You are an astro-numerologist, but the one thing you seem to focus on is the power of words. And you know, it's interesting. They used to have this phrase in the days of my parents: sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt me. Words have more power than you can imagine in a court of law, you know, in insurance and documents. And in fact, when you now download any software, they got about 3 or 4 pages, even longer than that. And you ain't gonna read all of it, you know, and you just say, okay, I'll sign it so I can just go on with downloading the software. You are an astro-numerologist. What made you hope numbers by numbers to focus on words? Because words are very powerful, because words can help, words can heal. What say you about words?
There is always a deeper connection than what is, put on the surface. And I used to be someone who my self-esteem wasn't always the best, and I used to engage in negative self-talk. And I came out of that by doing what I'm doing now, which is basically analyzing numbers and just kind of analyzing words and just looking for a deeper meaning of what certain words actually.
For some reason, the screen is freezing at this point, but go ahead. We'll go. So continue.
Oh yeah, so no, basically what I was saying is I used to engage in negative self-talk, and there's always a deeper meaning than what is on the surface to many things. And so I wanted to look into what the deeper meaning was into certain words, and this is kind of how this case study was how I came up with this case study. But the word hope is actually an acronym, which stands for holding on to purpose every day, which is also something that led me into analyzing words.
Holding on to purpose every day.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. I think that's interesting. Maybe that's why people say hope all the time. I hope this and I hope that. I hope I get some money and I hope whatever.
I mean, it's likely so. To me, hoping for something is more tangible versus wishing for something. Usually
That's
when people hope
interesting.
for something, they can actually see what it is that they're hoping for versus a wish is more like a wish, I guess. Just something you put out in the universe, not really expecting to receive it, but when you hope for something, it's actually something that you are looking to so
So you're saying hope definitely is more definitive. That's what you're
yep,
saying.
in my
That
opinion,
makes,
yep.
that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Um, because I guess hope gives you something to live for, strive for. Where wishing is just, well, if it happens, I wish it was a sunnier day, or versus the hope. The energy is totally, totally different. You know.
No, exactly. And I agree with that. And one thing numerology did for me was provide that hope when there was a time when I had more questions than answers. Um, Numerology actually gave me the hope that I needed to be able to build the path that I'm on right now.
And you know what's interesting? People don't realize that words have more power than can imagine, especially when we have self-talk. When you were talking about just a moment ago, that you had a kind of like the way you were talking to yourself in a negative way, not a very negative way, but in a negative way versus
Mhm.
and I guess what we feed it, because I was told that, oh, that's stupid. Well, you shouldn't say those things because the subconscious mind actually accepted that, okay, that's what you say, that's what you are, or that's what you become. So what made you be more conscious
Yeah.
of how you were
Because it's
talking
all
to yourself?
energy. Um, the result, because it's all energy. I mean, I could say something, but when it's out there in the universe doesn't necessarily know that I'm talking about me. You know what I'm saying? So with all like, so I started to see things manifested in my life as far as certain things that I was telling myself. And then not only that, I have a daughter, and I needed to be able to set a better example, so she would know exactly, like this is not how you treat yourself because how you treat yourself is how you're going to allow others to treat you as well.
That makes sense. And in fact, you got you're going to demonstrate something for us in a moment. You've got a kind of a vision board that we're going to put up on the screen, and let me know when you're ready,
Mm-hmm.
because words do have everything. um is there now, for example, there says there's a thin line between love and hate, so I guess both the energies are totally different, obviously, but
Mm-hmm.
how do you see it in your area as a numerologist, or astro-numerologist, I should say?
It's all in how you carry it out. You can either operate on the higher side of the number or the lower side of the number. So it's really depending on your frequency and how you're vibrating within it. Someone who is actually vibrating on the lower end, it's probably going to be towards the hate, and someone who's vibrating on the higher end is going to be towards the love.
Okay. We're breaking up a little bit, but let's see what we're going to do. Let's put this up on the screen. This is something you prepared. Can you explain what this is? And you got it.
Yes, yes. So the blueprint decoded. One day I was sitting and thinking to myself, like I was saying, what is the hidden meaning behind certain words that are popular on YouTube, certain commercials, songs that we couldn't help but sing? I'm like, why is that? And out of nowhere, the word blueprint popped into my mind. And I started to think about the definition of what blueprint actually means, which is like laying a foundation. And so something told me, Shaune, go online to the Jamaica calculator and look up the blueprint. I spent hours and hours and hours searching that word because there's pages and pages and pages of phrases and words that are connected to the blueprint. And so what I put together was a case study on themes of oppression and stereotypes faced by the Black community, the role of gematria in understanding systemic inequality.
What is gematria for some people who don't understand it? What does that mean?
So, gematria is a system that assigns numerical values to letters and words to find meanings in text, and it's commonly used in Jewish mysticism.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay.
So, instead of reducing the number down, the letters are based on the Hebrew alphabet, and so it's based on that. So it's not as simple as 1 plus 3 is 4. It's a little bit more
Sure.
complicated than that.
Sure. Sure. Yes. Okay. Continue.
All right. So in this case study, what we're going to do today is we're going to examine 30 words and phrases connected to oppression and stereotypes in the Black community that in simple English gematria equals the blueprint, which is 150. Um, and again, gematria is a system that assigns numerical values to letters and in text commonly used in Jewish mysticism. And so the phrase the blueprint symbolizes foundation of the mind, whether that's in architecture, policies, um, or oppression. And so by exploring these numerical connections, we're going to uncover deeper meanings within systemic racism and cultural biases.
Okay. Now, what's happening
Uh,
is, Sharon, there's something good with your voice. It's interesting when we were talking earlier, my voice was going in and out. Now your voice is going in and out. So I don't know. Well, let's continue and we'll see. Go right ahead. So the overview.
okay, yeah, because the same thing is also happening on my end too. But yeah, let's just continue and see what happens. Um, so yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect systemic issues affecting the Black community to their gematria values. And I'm going to show how discrimination has followed a structured blueprint throughout history. Um, each word or phrase that I list is going to correspond to the blueprint, which again is equal to 150 and simple English gematria. And what it's going to illustrate is the significance to the Black community's experience.
That's interesting. Didn't Jay-Z put out
So the first
a blueprint?
10 words.
Okay.
Oh, say that again. You broke up.
No, I said, didn't Jay-Z put out a CD called The Blueprint, I think.
It is, and that's funny because this is just part of my case study. I have another part of it that deals with famous people and musicians, and Jay Z and Beyonce is part of that. Their name and some of his albums and some of the things that he's done in his career was all up in that. It's
Mm,
very interesting. So it's almost like you just gotta. I'm good at puzzles, so it's almost like if you know what you're looking for, you can put the pieces together. You know.
got you. Got you. Continue. So
Yep.
racial injustice.
So yeah, so one of the first words that I found that connects to the blueprint is racial injustice. And this is legal and political barriers to equality and institutionalized discrimination faced by the Black community. And so it's connected into the blueprint indicates its foundational role in understanding the community struggle. And just remember, all these words equal to 150, the same as the blueprint. So that's the connection.
Really?
Number two.
Okay,
The
go
second
ahead.
word or second phrase I should say I found is economic disparity. And this is the wealth gap and the economic inequity driven by systemic discrimination. And, and I know we probably all in our lives, or we probably all know someone who's actually experienced that. I know I did in my last job. I worked there for 15 years and I just couldn't catch a break until I left.
Interesting.
The third word or phrase is cultural erasure. Cultural erasure refers to the loss or marginalization of Black cultural identity and heritage. And online I just found a quote by George Orwell. The past was erased, the erasure was forgotten, lie became the truth, which we all know today is very true.
Yeah, well, that is true. We seem to make a lie now seem as if it's the truth.
Absolutely. I don't know how much of a delay, but there's definitely
okay, for some reason the
a
sound
delay.
is
So if at
going.
any point, Lloyd, you want to interrupt me, just feel free to jump in.
Yeah, you know what I'll do instead of that, because you're freezing and whatever, and I might just raise my hand just a second. But yeah, somebody says yes, it's not crispy, bad connection. I'm trying to figure that out, why that is. Let's continue a little. Let's continue a little longer, and if not, I'm going to re-invite you back. Probably since June is kind of one of your months too, to kind of, so we'll have and then maybe, see, I've been having problems with my computer the last couple of days. It could be this device I'm on that could be doing it. But so continue as much as we can. All right, please do. Go ahead. Police brutality.
Okay, I got a little bit of that. I think you said continue, right?
Okay. Let's see.
Okay, I don't know. Can you hear me? Oh, this
Yes,
is
I hear you now.
horrible.
It's okay. Listen. I've had one where I could not get it together to save my life with a guest. At least you're on. I don't know. Now, did you have earplugs in, or maybe take them out, or whatever the case is? Maybe that might do it.
Let's see.
Okay, your mic is off. I see. Okay, your mic is now on. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, can you speak a little louder? Because it sounds like you're in a distance.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, something is happening where it seems like your voice is getting higher.
Let me scoot in a little bit more.
You know, the one thing about
closer.
live shows, it's live. What's it all? Okay. So I don't have no problem. Okay, so let's continue with police brutality, number 4, and see how we go.
So police brutality is the fourth phrase that I found connecting to the blueprint. And police brutality is the excessive force and violence inflicted upon Black individuals by law enforcement. And so in 1963, Birmingham protests. During the Civil Rights Movement, police in Birmingham, Alabama, used fire hoses and attack dogs against peaceful Black demonstrators, including children.
And then I have down the George Floyd in 2020, where Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin kneeled on George Floyd's neck for over 9 minutes, leading to Floyd's death. The incident, captured on video, ignited a global protest against police brutality. And I've heard many people say that a lot of the police brutality, the police shootings that's been happening the last year, they don't feel was an accident or is coincidental. So for me to find this phrase underneath the blueprint kind of made me not lean towards that way, but it's just got a fifth phrase that I found is systemic racism.
Okay, that's number 5, right?
Systemic biases entrenched in society affecting education, employment, housing, healthcare, and the criminal justice system. And in gematria, the connection to the blueprint underscores the fundamental role of addressing systemic racism. The sixth phrase that I found connecting to the blueprint is educational inequity, which is unequal access to educational opportunities and resources for Black students. The seventh phrase is health disparities. And I'm sure we all have experienced this, or at least know someone who has, the unequal health outcomes and access to health care for Black individuals. I remember, just to kind of share a little personal story, I remember about 10 years ago, I had something going on with me medically, and I didn't really know what it was. And I had a doctor tell me that it would be interesting to open me up to play around inside to figure out what is going on. And to me, I found that kind of, yes, and I found that kind of strange because I felt that if I was a white woman sitting on that table, they would have been eager to find a diagnosis of what it was that I was experiencing. So I'm glad that, and at that time, I was also,
No, go right ahead.
And so I went for a second opinion. And so, and I found once I started doing numerology that anyone that's connected to the 4 and the 8, which is me, should always have a second opinion. You know, we suffer from the odd and the unusual, you know, and so for her to tell me that, I was just kind of like, no thanks.
But, you know, I think it's amazing that a doctor would say, well, because they can't pinpoint it, let's open you up and play around.
The eighth phrase that I found connecting to the declaration.
Go ahead. No, there's something happening.
Right. I'm like, no, we're not doing that. And then you're going to.
Here's what we're going to do. We're gonna go to 11, the half hour mark, and then we're gonna bring it back on. So let's at least go up until 10. All right.
Okay.
And then we will continue this under other circumstances. All righty.
Gotcha. All right. So 8 is mass incarceration, which is the disproportionate imprisonment of Black individuals. Back in the 80s, I'm an 80s baby. And I remember when just kind of hearing the people in my neighborhood talk about how they don't want the man in the home because they got to get the food stamps or some sort of welfare. And then the men out there hustling on the street, getting caught up. So, I was a part of the Black community that was supposed to be locked away for, you know, things that they felt that they needed to do in order to just be able to take care of their families. You know what I'm saying? The aggression.
Here we go.
Microaggressions.
No, go right ahead.
Microaggressions are subtle, often unconscious racist remarks or discriminatory actions. Like, for example, when people say, they don't see color. Well, if you don't see color, then you don't see me. Is how I feel. Because how can you look at me, especially being a Black woman, and not see my color? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Or I got this one a lot too. You're pretty for a dark person. Excuse me, can I just be pretty because I'm pretty? You know what I'm saying? And so that's one that I definitely experienced a lot when I was growing up. And then 10, implicit bias, which is the unconscious attitudes and stereotypes that affect perceptions and actions. Discrimination as a form of racial bias that operates beneath the level of unconscious. And so I just went online and found 2 quotes, one by Alex Haley. Racism is taught in our society. It is not automatic. It is learned behavior towards persons with dissimilar physical characteristics. And that, my friend, is true. Whether some white people want to admit it or not, you're racist. I mean, you might not mean to be, but if it's rooted in how you were brought up, then it's there. But it's your job in recognizing that it's there and doing the work to, do better. And then I thought this one was interesting. Bush. Bias has to be taught. If you hear your parents downgrading women or people of different backgrounds, why are you going to do that? And so I thought it was interesting for Barbara Bush to say a quote of that nature, just kind of coming from the background that, she was raised in.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's do 3 more.
Okay. And so the next set of phrases I found focuses on the structural oppression. And so number 11, voter suppression, which are the policies and actions that make it hard for Black individuals to vote. These include voter ID laws, restrictive polling locations, and gerrymandering. Probably said that wrong. Forgive me.
No, gerrymandering. Yes, go ahead.
The 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, adopted on July 14th, 1868, declared all people born and naturalized in the United States as citizens. However, despite being considered United States citizens, African Americans could not vote like white Americans. So whenever an African American turned out to cast a vote, they were given a literacy test. I didn't know that. And most of them failed, which would make sense. They would then be asked to complete a form and later told that they could not vote because they didn't complete the form correctly. It's like catch-22. You can't win for losing.
It's interesting. My grandmother told me that at one point, when going to vote, one of the tests was how many jelly beans are in the jar. I mean, really, really things that would like, are you serious? So it's just very interesting about that voter registration, all kinds of gimmicks. But that got to me. How many jelly beans are in the jar? Like, you gonna know? Are they gonna then open up and count them? You know what I'm saying? So anyway, continue.
That's ridiculous. And so
that was real.
Yeah, that's crazy, but like, and just kind of, yeah, no, thank you. But just kind of like going back to just thinking about, what the blueprint is, it's like, man, did we ever have a chance, from start? You know what I'm saying? It's like they built a path and they laid out everything in that path for us to follow. They dropped the crumbs and we was right there to pick them on up. So number 12 is redlining, which is discriminatory practices where banks denied loans and insurance to Black communities, reinforcing segregation and economic hardships. And so I wanted to figure out, where did this term come from? And so it showed that it has its origins in the U.S. government's homeownership programs, which was established in the 1920s and 1930s. So I mean, we've been facing this for a very long time. I remember when I first bought my house, thankfully, you know, there were programs that I was able to enroll in that helped me out. But, you know, my people before me, they actually had to deal with this. Like my great grandmother, she lives a couple blocks up the street, but the stories that I heard she had to go through just to be able to purchase her home was ridiculous. And it definitely fell into this redlining. 13, white privilege. Yep, I'll say it again. White privilege.
I heard of him.
Systemic the systemic advantages enjoyed by white individuals due to racial biases. And so, invisible knapsack. The term is most closely associated with Peggy McIntosh's article, White Privilege, unpacking the invisible knapsack, in which she stated, I observe white privilege as an unearned box of opportunities that can be cashed out on any day. But about it, I meant to remain oblivious. Sure. And so some examples of white privilege is not being discriminated against when it comes to job interviews. They can spend most of their time with their own race. If there are usually two or more than Black people gathered, then folks are scared. And don't be outside with it, because then if you are, then the police are going to come and wondering if you're all a gang, especially if you're all in white t-shirts. And, you know, whites don't really face housing discrimination, and they're unlikely to be harassed by the police.
Well, you know, I'll say
I learned the term when I first started driving, called DWB, which is driving while Black. I was told don't be caught while driving while Black, and I didn't understand what that meant, which basically is just getting pulled over by the police just for the simple fact that you're Black, especially if you're in a nice car.
Well, I will say this. I think.
The 14.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it was always a given. Action. Go ahead. Affirmative action.
Policies that promote diversity in education and employment by addressing historical discrimination. Its gematria value equal to the blueprint underscores its significance in correcting racial injustices. Now, what were you going to say, Lloyd?
No, I was going to say after this, I put your banner there so people can reach out to you and whatnot. But we're going to have to, in all fairness, since you got 30 words, we'll maybe stop at this point, and then we'll bring you back. Something is probably up with my computer. I'm telling you, it took me through changes yesterday. And so when I finish this show, I'm going to really go try to see if I can get this thing fixed. So I don't know whether it's on my end or maybe just a connection, but I want to do you justice with this, because there are things that are related to a blueprint other than just the rap song about the blueprint by Jay-Z, but to understand.
Absolutely.
And, you know, it's very, very interesting. There is a book called The Color of Law by Richard Rothstein, who had talked about how the government from day one has begun to set up roadblocks. So this is not in our imagination. It's like a blueprint, really. You know, so there were towns that we had in the South and other parts of the country that were thriving economically, financially, culturally, all of them at some point destroyed. So I don't know what that is. It could be part of the blueprint. Who knows? But I know this. I don't think it's the imagination. So for those of you who want to really get a better understanding, just go to Amazon. It's called The Color of Law by Richard Rothstein, that tells how the government. And so I'm not talking bad. I'm just saying I didn't write the book. Okay. So all the people got to do is get the book and read it, and they will see that this is not our imagination. So when you talked about white privilege and affirmative action and all the other things, these things is no accident at all. And yet sometimes it's like we're betrayed as if we're talking about the race card. We've never come up with race at all. This is invention to the counterpart. That's all I'm saying. So if people get that book, The Color of Law by Richard Rothstein, then tell me. And so this way people are not just looking at you and me, oh, it's so-and-so, and then we got something against. No, I'm just saying that there have been from day one blocks. And my attitude has been, if we are such an inferior people, why must so many roadblocks be put in our way in order to do these things? Okay.
Right.
I wouldn't think you would have to do that to anybody that's inferior. You know, I think if we're inferior, we just trip on our own. And it's the programming of grabbing the barrel, of not loving ourselves. So so rarely do we encourage each other that, like, girl, Sharon, you're a genius. We don't talk about that, but we'll talk about how bad you are or something negative. And that's all a part of the psychological programming. And one of the sad things I heard one time near public school, they told another Black youngster, oh, you think you're white, because they were smart and wanting to read. So it's just all of this programming that's part of the blueprint. It really, really is.
It is crazy how they connect intellect with in the Black community, how they connect intellect with wanting to be white. That's crazy. Just because someone is smart or they can articulate themselves doesn't mean that they're white or they want to be white. So I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, well, that's like saying, don't try to learn anything. Just stay in your place. Okay. And the fact, and I'll say this before we close and let you go, that at one point when we first got here during the slavery period, to even read a word, read a sentence, read a page or a book, the sentence was death. Now fast forward to the 21st century, it says if you want to hide anything from Black people, what do?
Put it in a book.
Yes. So all of this is psychological. Malcolm X says one time, we work out in the cotton fields, so you can't see in the morning till you can't see at night. And then after the 1860s, when Black people were emancipated and whatnot, what do? Lazy and shiftless all of a sudden. So interesting. Right. So interesting. So these words have power, and all of this is a part of the blueprint. But I will invite you back at some point next month where we can do this and we have a better sound. Now, all of a sudden, that I'm wrapping up, now the sound is all nice and clear.
And now it wants to, it was like, I don't want you talking about those things, lady.
Yeah, but that's a fact of the matter now.
Too much right now.
So it's no accident, but I do want to thank you, and I will have you back at some other time. But this is Shaune West, an astro-numerologist, and her forte about the study of words. So it's Hope Numbers by Numbers, and that's her website. And also, if you go let me see, that's her IG, Hope Number by Number. Then also she got a website, hopenumberbynumber.com. Her Cash App is, how do you say Sahasha? How do you say it? Your Cash App.
Saha said. Saha said.
Saha said, okay. And you got a Venmo, Shaune Randall. I see you noticed a change in the spelling of your name. And then PayPal. How do you say Jalen? Is that it?
Jalen 1007 at gmail.com.
Okay. Well, young lady, I'm going to have you back and we'll finish up and we'll do a part 2. But essentially, we should stop on affirmative action right now, because in light of everything now with the new president, it's everything is like woke. I have no idea what's woke in that sense. But anyway, we'll see. But I do want to thank you very, very much. Okay.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure. I enjoyed. See you guys later.
Okay. Bye. Thanks so much, Shaune. I appreciate that very, very much. Okay. Okay, that's how the sound goes. Well, we do have another 20 minutes. So while we do have the time left, if you got any questions, any birthdays, let me know. Let me look through the comment section a second. And I know people will sometimes get a little stressed, whatever. What is this? What is signature of number 7? Okay, good. I'm going to start. I'm going to go back to the top a second. And if you got any questions, yeah, she had. Well, I don't think she meant to keep cutting me off. It's just like when sounds are breaking up like that, I'm saying something, she's not hearing, then she says, so that's why I'm saying we're going to have her back. But this is, again, how you get in touch with her, please. And do that, all right? So let me see. I'm getting all this. Let me go back a second and work my way back down. Okay, so if anybody has any questions, let me know. I might stay on a little bit past the hour. But let me say this too. For those of you who have, I noticed that everybody who does shows, please like, share, subscribe. Every Monday and Wednesday, I always read the forecast. But the wording at the top, please like, share, and subscribe. For some reason, I don't do that, but I guess it's very important, of course. But I do, I like the fact that I guess it is nice to have subscribers. It is nice to have followers and stuff, but those are not the numbers that I look for. I look for more numbers that are more esoteric, more spiritual, and more insightful. Okay. Now I got this birthday here, Jim Ma. They said their birthday. Now, when I see this birthday like this kind of gives me a clue as I teach students that more than likely this will be a birthday of a person from another country. The reason why I'm saying it in this country here in the West is always the month first, the day, and the year. If you notice, this person put the date first, the 25th of October of 2025, which suggests to me that they may be more from another part of the world or whatever the case is, but nonetheless, they would be a Scorpio 7 person. They're born at 7:22 p.m. So in their time, your sun would be in the 10th house. But again, it all depends on where you were born. This is one of the reasons why an astrologer not only needs the month, the day, and the year you're born, and the time, but more importantly, the location, because in Hawaii is 6 hours behind, and London is 6 hours ahead, and China it's 12 hours ahead, and California is 3 hours behind. So when you see these time zones, that's what that's about. So this is what got me into numerology in the first place when I would do astrology, which was my first focus, my first love, that people wasn't sure about their time. And if they said they were born at 7:53 p.m., XYZ place, I would do it. Then they found their birth certificate and they were born at 7:53 a.m. That 12-hour difference will make a whole shift of how the planets are circling around the horoscope. So numerology, you don't need the time of birth. And I got your month, your day, your year. I got your number. I got your name, which unlike astrology, that's what it does. So it's very important. But nonetheless, depending on where you were born, I would say your sun should have been sitting in the 10th house. And then there are certain rules. There's the sidereal chart, the Koch chart. You know what I'm saying? So it all depends on which. It's complicated, as they say. But nonetheless, what is not complicated is that you're a water sign with a water number. That much I know. It tells me that your numbers are the 7, 2, and 6. That much I know. It tells me you were probably out on your own between 19 and 22. That I know. And it also what's also interesting, if you look at the year you're born in, it also will give you a clue as to the possible zodiac sign or date of birth of the parent. So in this case, born in 1995, which has a 24, which is a 6, would suggest there are two things. It would suggest that either one of the parents is a Taurus or Libra, or born on the 6th, the 15th, or the 24th. But because they were conceived, so if I do October, November, December, January, so if they were conceived around January of 1994, which is the year of the 5, because 1994 is the 23. So if they were conceived in that year, possibly the parent could have been a Gemini or Virgo, or born on the 5th, 14th, or 23rd. But the year they're born in, So if you look at the year you're born in, add up that single digit number, and whatever that number represents, that may be the possibility of either the zodiac sign of one of your parents or the date of birth of one of your parents too. All right, so that's it. But this year is your power year. You're in the 8-cycle year, the year to do some meaningful things. But your numbers are the 7, 2, and 6. All righty. Okay. Kanaya, that's my girl. Kanaya, she is a Virgo. September the 9th is her birthday. How are you, my friend? Let me see something. And Stephen and Carol Williams from Chicago, they are definitely family. And again, you know, the fact that y'all would tune in every Monday and Tuesday is like, I really appreciate this very, very much because you don't have to. Yes, Zakia, watery sound. Yep. And it kept going in and out. So, yep, and it's not crispy too. So anyway, yep, bad connection, Donna Cooper. Somebody see Zakia reboot. I hadn't thought of that. Okay, a Queen D and need a better mic, much better, much better. I guess that's when she took off the headsets. But anyway, we'll do it again where it's much more clearer and whatnot. And so let me see, the literacy test was impossible to pass. Yeah, there was a literacy test. These are some of the things. So when they talk about now voter registration, that now all of a sudden now we are duplicating votes when we couldn't. You know how they say the goalpost is always moved? Yeah, well, that's kind of how that was. Yeah, and it wasn't based on actual literacy. No, they said it's literacy test. But I remember my grandmother said that in the days of her parents, in order to vote, that was one of the things, how many jelly beans are in the jar and things that you and I would say, huh? And that qualified. So obviously it wasn't about literacy tests because many of our ancestors of grandparents and their parents was illiterate. The average grade was about 2nd or 3rd grade. It was only after the generations of the late mid 40s and 50s and 60s up until then that it was. And a lot of the inventions by African Americans was invented when they had very little education too, which I think is interesting. Okay, some of us did. But anyway, okay. Thanks, Teresa. I always try to bring interesting people on. And also in the comment section sometimes, leave me something that you would like to hear or something you would like to know about. This is why I am, let me go to this. And this is why next Tuesday, I am having Ask Me Anything. Hold on, let me get this straight with the banner too. Okay, Ask Me Anything. And the reason why is so many of you ask me these deep questions that I really can't answer in a way because I have so many people in the comment section and I have to kind of leave it. So the idea came from, I think, Quintanilla, one of the regulars in the Live with Lloyd family, to suggest, won't we do this? So Quintanilla, thank you very, very much for that. And so what I'm doing is I'm only allowing 10 people into the room because the more than that, then I can't answer everybody to their satisfaction. So if you'd like to join, I think there's some room left. Just click in the upper right QR code. And when you get there, you get a calendar. You go to June the 3rd, which is Tuesday. And then you just sign up to come there. Okay, so it's the first 10. And then that way I can answer questions. So let me get back to the comment section. All right. Okay. Okay. King Simon, that's my buddy. I had to talk with him today. We're really brothers. We really are. So we got different mothers. Okay. Who's counting? All right. So, but that's my brother. Okay. Let's see. Let me go back a second. I want to make sure. Okay. I got. All righty. So again, anytime, anything you want to know about, in an astro-numerical way, just put it in the comment section, you know, that I can see on, I guess, Instagram, or call it what you will. And then this way I'll talk about it. because there's so many areas to numerology. And by the way, Simon is having a special in June, July, and August. Once I get this thing straight, I'll be able to put it up on the screen and show you. Okay, let's see. Oh, this Teresa, she says, Empress Rel and Jazz, love you both for going above and beyond to provide links and info. Yes, they are. That's why Jazz Aphrodite is on Monday. Empress Rel is on Wednesday. You know what I'm saying? Because, and I've just been very blessed, and they're consistent. They're consistent. What is not consistent is some of the things I'm doing, learning the hard way. One time my lights went out. One time I didn't have the electricity on the computer went out. And, you know, so I don't worry because it's not deliberate. It's really not. It's just, you know, it happens. Okay. Now, let me see. This person here says, what is the significance of number 7? In fact, in my book, Numbers in You, my bestseller, I have a chapter in it called The Sacred 7. And 7 seems to be, you have religions that tend to have problems with one another. They think my God is better than your God or whatever the case is. However, I notice when it comes to the numbers, they all agree that 7 is a sacred number. And maybe because 7 is much in nature, like 7 days in a week, 7 notes in the musical scale, 7 colors in the rainbow, the seven virtues, the 7 wonders of the world, the 7 wonders of the ancient world, the 7 continents, the 7 notes in the musical scale. It's so 7 is very spiritual. In fact, almost all the founders of religious movements have been 7s. Christ is celebrated on the 25th, of course. Then you have Bishop Desmond Tutu of South Africa. He was born on the 7th. You have Billy Graham, the evangelist, that was born on the 7th. Then you have Elijah Muhammad that founded the Nation of Islam that was born on the 7th. Buddha was born on the 7th. Charles Russell that founded Jehovah's Witness was born on the 16th. 1 + 6 is 7. Mary Baker Eddy that founded Christian Science, I think, was born on July the 16th, and 1 + 6 is 7. The Reverend Robert Schull that had that glass house in California was born on the 25th of 7. And in fact, the brother that created what was called the reggae in the Caribbean, he was born on the 16th of June. 1 + 6 is 7. So 7 is very powerful. Even in the Bible, they sounded the walls of Jericho 7 times. They sounded the trumpet 7 times, and the walls came tumbling down symbolically, whatever that's supposed to mean. Also, if you talk to a Muslim, the height of their religion is to make a Hajj to Medina in Mecca, and they must circle the cobblestone 7 times, and the ritual is complete. So 7 is one of those kind of numbers, and 7 governs the law of attraction. So, I mean, I could go, but all of it's explained in my book, Numbers in You, a numerology guide for everyday living. Okay, so thanks for that. I didn't mean to go into it, but it's just that powerful. Okay, all righty. So anyway, okay, Max for Amazing Spider-Man. All righty, so here we got Miss Natural Intelligence, born on March the 18th. So they are a water sign with a fire number. And the 18 in the tarot deck is called the power of mediumship, the ability to go in and out. It's called a hermit, I think, but it's the ability to go in and out of the visible and invisible world. And in fact, this is the same birthday as Edgar Cayce, the famous psychic. Now, in fact, they call him the Sleeper Prophet. I think that was the first book that came out with him, written by his son. And he said that the safest place to be, because he would go into a trance and he would tell people the safest place when the end of time comes is on Virginia Beach. Okay, so those of you who live in Virginia Beach, pretty good. But anyway, it indicates there that, first of all, you get along better with males than females. This is the same birthday as Queen Latifah, by the way, also, not to try to get into a whole birthday thing, but the point is that this particular year for you is significant. Why? Because you're born on the 18th, which is a 9. This year, 2025, is the year of the 9 that's in lockstep with it. Your key numbers are the 9, the 3, and the 6 in that order. If you download my app, *8, ASTAR 8 on your iPhone or Play Store, you'll see that those are your lucky numbers. And the fact that you happen to be in a 3 personal year, how I got it was very simple. I took March the 18th, added it to 2025 here in my brain, and it factored out to a 3. And 3 is your second most important number. So this should be a very interesting, very busy, very productive, very bountiful year, because Jupiter is always associated with good luck. If you go to an astrologer, there are 2 signs they're looking for: planets. Where's the planet Jupiter around the chart? And where is Saturn? Because Saturn is just the opposite. It's called the malevolent planet, which means that when it's sitting there, boy, in that area, you're going to be tested a bit. But then there's the beneficent. These are terms they use in astrology. Where's Jupiter? Because that will be the area or the house of abundance in that area. So that's how it goes. But anyway, you're going to have a great year. That's all I can tell you. Okay. Beautiful, brilliant universe, 919, all those nines. Okay. You are a Virgo 1 person. All right. So that means you're Earth sign with a fire number, very practical, very grounded, very real. Also, I'm looking at the fact too that with you born under a fire number, it means you take the initiative. You tend to kind of like take the lead. So from your birthday, you would have made an excellent lawyer, doctor, scientist, entrepreneur, inventor, innovator, the first to do this, first to do that. And what I find interesting, when you were young, you were old. As you got older, you got younger. And so did the relationships that probably came into your life as well. You also have one of those kind of years that cannot be reversed, because you're born in the year 77. If I flip it around, it's still 77. But nonetheless, the fact that it is the year that adds up to a 24 would suggest to me, because that means you got your mom and dad conceived you in December they conceived you in December of 1976, which is the year of the 5, which means they could either be a Virgo, Gemini, or born on the 5th, 14th, or 23rd. And the fact you were born in 1977, which is the year of the 6, it means your parents could have also been a Taurus or Libra, or born on the 6th, the 15th, or the 24th. But regardless, your key numbers are always the 1, the 4, and the 5, and Sundays and Wednesdays and Tuesdays are your best days, okay? Now, here's another person that's born in 1977 too, where the first person, beautiful, brilliant universe, was an earth sign with a fire number. I am source is a water sign with a fire number. Ambitious, creative, independent, resilient, consistent, and if told they can't do something, boy, do they rise to the occasion, okay? I would say that whatever it is, they tend to be very conscientious. It seems that from your birthday, your most important numbers are always the 3, the 2, and the 7. And Thursdays and Mondays and Fridays are always your best days. See, I'm looking at all these people now that's getting in, and I can't now. Excuse me. Y'all can do this for me, please. If I'll do this every month, if I can get the nice response, I'll do this every month. So everybody will get a turn to ask in-depth questions. Then you can ask about your loved ones, family members and things of that nature. Just go here, go to the upper right corner, click on the QR code. I'll leave it up there for a moment. Just take a screenshot or whatever the case is and enroll and sign up. And I'll see you next Tuesday for a couple of hours. And then this way I can answer all your questions. I'm not locked into a time like I am now. I also have to consider the time of my moderators too, like they have nothing to do, because they've been doing this consistently, which I thank them. Okay. Let me see. This is interesting. Mo 6, it says they've been having a lot of trouble on repairs for this month of May. However, I tend to buy another vehicle. How is June? In fact, one of the best days to buy a car this particular month is on the 4th of June. I'm in June already. The 4th of June, the 14th, and the 23rd of June would be good. And I've got this source from an almanac. In the days of our parents and grandparents and folks, no matter where in this country, they all looked at an almanac. One of the first almanacs, in fact, was invented by Benjamin Banneker, who finished the designing and the layout of a brother, by the way, a Scorpio 9, who laid out the whole pattern of Washington, D.C. Okay, and so that's what I did. I consulted Almanac. So that would be the day in June. Again, that would be the 4th, the 14th, and the 23rd of the month. All righty. And how is June looking for you? So if I did your birthday right quick, you're in a 3 personal year. 3 added to June is a 9. So it'll be a year for you to bring about some conclusion for yourself. The fact that 1s and 9s are like ace boon coons and stuff like that, that should be pretty good for you. But it indicates also manifesting some things that you've been wanting to happen for yourself. So if that is the case, you should do very, very well. Your numbers are the 149, and you were born in Dakar, Senegal. That's nice. You know, the president of Senegalese, I forgot the brother's name, the young brother. He won the election on his birthday, March the 30th. He had just got out of jail because he was raising the people of the consciousness in Senegal. Okay. And he told France, y'all gonna have to do something better than this. Okay. So right now, Africa seems to be kind of doing a reawakening. Okay. So anyway, that's a whole nother story for another time. Will I get a job soon? I guess that's June the 20th of 73. The answer is technically yes. Here's why I'm saying it. First of all, you're 52 days before your birthday, which is about another 2.5, 3 weeks. Not only that, I'm looking at the fact you happen to be in an 8 personal year, which deals with finance first and romance. So there's a better than average chance you probably would. So if I look at that, 8 plus 6 is 5, and your key numbers are the 2, 7, and 5. So that means opportunities. And I would say somewhere around the 3rd week of the 15th through the 21st. If you took my class, I can show you how I do this. It took me years to make this look incredibly simple, but almost every invention you do, once it's mastered, looks incredibly simple. Oh yeah, I can do that, you know? So anyway, I would say yes. I would keep my fingers crossed for you. And you were born at 5:45 p.m., which means your sun was sitting at the bottom of the chart, which means your sun was in the 4th house, about to go to the 5th house. Okay, good enough. No. I'm mistaken because that's from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 2 to 4. It's sitting in the 6th house. I stand corrected. Thank you. All right. Larry Hoover has been pardoned. I have no idea who Larry Hoover is. I got to keep up with some of the news that's going on. All kinds of things are going on. And I'm telling you this, you better start acting as a family, folks. The whole projection is to try to get people to stand on their own and be by themselves. No man is an island. There's a reason why that came out, okay? You cannot do it alone. And so what you don't want to do is feel isolated. That's why I said this is the Live with Lloyd family. This is how I was raised, with a mom and dad, brothers and sisters. And I think we should act as a family, as against like, I can do it all by myself. I don't need you. I don't need the family. And then I saw something recently that the children don't need their mothers and fathers, really? Or the fathers don't need their... Anyway, it's crazy. That's all I'm saying. It's crazy. All right. So anyway, I want to say again to peace and love to you, Shaune West. We're going to get it together the next time. But also, Numeralytics, please go there because she's going to be having something soon. So I'm going to have to go. I really have to go. Oh, and if you want to download my app, go to star8.com. And when you go to either the Play Store or Apple, you'll see a Star 8 by Lloyd Strahan. Download it. For those of you who want their lucky numbers and their stress numbers, just download the app. It's a freemium, which means many of the features are free, but some of the bells and whistles you're going to have to invest, as I had to invest to put it together because it wasn't easy. All righty. So I do want to thank you very, very much. I'm going to see you on Monday in a brand new month. All righty. So before I do, let me tell you that the show has been brought to you by U-Juice, the wonderful Caribbean drinks. And in fact, I think he is going to be visiting this country at some point next month. He's writing a book and whatnot, so that should be exciting. Also to Nicholas Brooklyn. Monique is so special to me. She's just a really great human being. She's got a great store. She's got a companion there, Cafunia. That's my girl too. She's a Leo, 7. And of course, Hank Risingson is always there. He's another 7. So when you got 7s and 9s, those are spiritual numbers. But go to 1396 Fulton Street. Tell them Lloyd Strayhorn sent you, and be prepared to spend some money. That's all I can tell you. Okay. Also, Manifest on Purpose with Miss Kimberly, and she's also setting up a business consulting link. So for those of you, all you got to do is just go to Kimberly, Kimbaley, Kimbaley. And the consultation is complimentary. So let's say you got an idea, you're starting a business, because JP Morgan consulted Evangeline Adams in his day. And when he became a success and they asked him, is it true? Because they found out he was using astrology. And when he answered the question, was it true? Or asked the question, was it true? Does astrology make millionaires? He says, no, it makes billionaires. And see, this to be the reading, because if you go to Evangeline Adams, the astrologer's autobiography called the Bowl of Heaven, she explained in the page, I forgot what page because I read it last year or earlier this year. She said she taught JP Morgan astrology. He had astrologers on his staff. Okay. So what I'm saying is take advantage of the sponsor. Maybe she can do the same thing. Also, Numerolitics with Queen Bee. She's having Remy Ma, something like that. And then she's having another person that I'm not familiar with. I gotta catch up to date. And she's having them on, and it's going to be on Friday the 30th. And so just please subscribe, and you will have that. So other than that, I do want to thank you. By the way, before I do, Jazz Aphrodite don't have that many books. You need to get the copies while they're left. Of course, you can always get the audio version, but try to get a book in your hands to read. There is something wonderful about the process of reading. And also what is left of May, you can get a free newsletter by going to lloyd-strayhorn.com or going to Linktree, linktr.ee/numbers in you, and sign up for a free monthly description. And no, we do not sell your email. I don't do that. And so for those of you who don't want to read it, you can hear it. Every month we do this, and we've just recorded the one for June that's coming out next week. All right. So this is for May, for those who want to hear it. So, and the way it's speak it is totally different than the way I write it, but it's totally different things. But again, I will say this, for those of you, please take advantage where we can have a one-on-one. I'm not rushed. I can go into details and read people that are important to you other than yourself, children's, mates, relatives, family, friends, whatever the case is, even the people that's working your nerves too. I'll get in their business also. Everybody, I do want to thank you very, very much. Do have a great weekend. I'm going to see what's up with this computer I got and what is going on with it. And I look forward to seeing you then. Have a great weekend.